Welcome to, or welcome back to my channel. My name, what is that? It's Caitlin J. Reads. Welcome. Or like I said, welcome back. All right? I'm here with another video for you today. And what is that video, do you ask? Well, ask and you shall receive. All right? I'm going to give you a fall recommendations video. All right? We've been seeing a whole lot of these, but I wanted to give some that I haven't seen thrown in there. All right? Some underrated, shall you say, books that I just wanted to pop on my list. So that way you get, a bit of underground books. The more I can spread the wealth, the more I will. All right? So without any further ado, comment down below. What is your favorite fall-esque read? All right? Subscribe to the channel. All right? Let's get into it, because it's going to be, we don't know how long, but it might be long. Who knows? First, we have the Winnowing Flame trilogy. I'm holding up Bitter Twins because this is my favorite in the trilogy by far. But the Winnowing Flame trilogy is very fall-esque, in my opinion. Great book for fall. We all know a bunch of people are looking for fantasy recommendations, sci-fi fantasy recommendations in the fall. This is great. Let's give you a short little synopsis, okay? We have a group of people, all right? They were once immortal. When their tree god gave them sap that they could drink, made them immortal. They are no longer immortal. Their tree god is dead. We have witches, all right, that can shoot fire out of their hands. And then we follow this really great archivist character, all right? And how the fate of all three intertwine. It's a great trilogy, okay? And witches, fall, autumn, you see where I'm going here. But this is the Bitter Twins, the second book. I might as well show you the first book. Why wouldn't I? This is the Ninth Reign, the first book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy by Jen Williams. Then we have Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is a horror novel. Imagine if the Titanic happened in space, all right? But no one ever found it. And then 20 years later, a crew stumbles upon it and almost does like pirates' rights, first come, first serve. And how that psychologically affects our crew as each drops like flies. And I really enjoyed this book. Very spooky, scary. 'Tis the season. It is fall. This is a great mix between sci-fi and horror. I enjoyed it. I think you will too. That is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. Then we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Okay? Really short, standalone fantasy novel. Okay? That gives very autumnal feel in the way its prose is collected and presented. Pretty much we follow a sister who is trying to save her sister from an abusive relationship. In order to do so, she has to complete 3 impossible tasks. She pretty much completes them within the first 15 pages of the book, and the rest commences on how we are going to kill this abusive piece of shit. And it's good. It has magic, fairy godmothers, and it's fun. It's very autumnal feeling, very whimsical feeling, but still, bad bitch gets revenge. She thinks I did it, but she just can't prove it type vibes, No body, no crime vibes. Okay. Anyways, we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. There we go. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This practically follows Dracula and his concubines. And it's polygamous, it's gay. I like that. And it was very beautifully lyrically written, which gives autumnal vibes. And then, of course, vampires, Halloween, scary, autumn. All right, this is perfect. You should read it. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Then we have Hollow Kingdom by Kira Buxton. Well, this book does have some things wrong with it, in my opinion, but just the whole apocalypse thing, no humans left, and seeing from the animal's point of view, I just found to be so fascinating. All right. And once he really started to come into his crow identity, I loved this story. I truly did. I thought it was so much fun. Really, the best way I can pitch this, like I said, is apocalypse, zombie apocalypse, human dead, animals alive. And it's up to them to save themselves. And I enjoyed it. You should give a read. This is Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. And look at that cover. Am I right? Kill me for not taking out these books earlier. Then we have The Band Duology by James Eames. And I've talked quite a lot about this, but we're giving elevator pitches in this video. So I figured I'll hold up the first book and talk a little bit about it. All right, this is a great book. Very autumn vibes. Band gets back together. Very going back to school, shall you say, vibes. It's fun. Basically, we follow a group of retired age men. Shall you say, all right? And them getting back together, their band of fighters, and fighting this evil overlord that is coming to destroy their city. And I just found this really endearing, really fun. Characters are really funny. This cover is great. Second book, even better. So you should totally read The Band by James Eames. Not sure how many books there are going to be, but 2 out right now, Kings of the Wild and Bloody Rose. Then we have the Texlacan duology. This is an empire called Memory. Then we have a desolation called Peace, which is my favorite of the two. Okay, what a kick-ass sequel, in my opinion. This is, the way it was pitched to me was, what if you fell in love with the empire that was actively trying to oppress you? And that was an interesting premise, picked it up. Then the second one is more of a first contact. I liked that one better. Still dealt with the issues brought up in this book, but just a little bit more happening in that second book. This is what I call a sci-fantasy, a sci-fi, and sci-fantasy, not science fiction, okay? Because it feels more like a space opera, a fantasy space opera to me than it feels like a science fiction book with heavy science principles. From my last video, a review I said it has horrible grasp on physics. Do I know physics? Absolutely not. Do I care? No. But does that make it a science fantasy? Yes. Not science fiction. Science fantasy. But other than that, these books are great. I highly enjoy them. Highly recommend them. This is an Emery called Empire and a Desolation called Peace by Arcady Martin. Then I put Swan Song in here. This was the first horror apocalyptic book that I was very surprised to actually enjoy. You know, I actually really enjoyed it. All right. And it's long. It's a kicker. It's like 900 pages. Also, this book was published in 1987. Okay. So do some trigger research before going in. I will say straight up essay. All right. Racism. All right. What else? Ableism? Question mark? But yes, do some research before going into the book. I took it for the fact that it was written in 1987. All right, a very different time. And the rest of the book for me still held up, and I really enjoyed it, okay? Basically, it follows if the Cold War went nuclear and we all went bye-bye, all right? And how humanity truly thrives in the brightest and darkest corners of, our psyches, our mind. How you can thrive and survive being a great, amazing, morally sound person, but by also being a diabolical, evil little bitch. And, they really, Robert McCannon really pushed that mark home. That's where all of the essay, racism, ableism stuff, ethnic cleansing comes in. Yeah, you heard me right. But besides, I think you might enjoy it if you go into it knowing all of those things, expecting to see it, all right? If you can't handle, especially the essay, I would say skip. But the rest of it, read it for what it's worth. It's 1987. This is a pretty dang good piece of literature if you take all of that other stuff out. So, yeah. Swan Song by Robert McCannon. Don't have the book yet, but it's coming. In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I believe I got that correct. I don't know why I don't have this physical book, because it is an amazing collection of short stories about a queer relationship and the destruction of it being personified within the scope of whatever house they are in. That's from what I remember. And I remember it being very disturbing and relatable in some ways. And it was just a really, really great book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. The kind of crumbling and the desecration of the home is what reminds me of the fall autumn season, almost like decays from the inside out, literally. So yeah, that's why I'm putting it on this list, and it's really great. So then we have, I have this one actually. My Sister, the Serial Killer. I apologize. I'm not even going to butcher this name because I know I probably will. But this is a phenomenal book. I don't see nearly enough people talking about it. But my complaint about this book was that I wish it was longer. It was not long enough for me. I wanted more from our sisters. Okay, basically we follow one sister and our other sister who is a serial killer. She is a serial killer with the men that she gets romantically involved with. And basically the plot of this book is the main character, our sister, starts to become interested at someone at her work. That man becomes interested in her sister. And her sister tries to pursue this man and trouble ensues. Okay? And it's a really fun book. All right? Serial killers, serial killer movies, that's horror, that's fall, all right, in my opinion. That is how I fit this in. My Sister, the Serial Killer. Really short read, not heavy on the science fiction fantasy. It's really just a thriller, so highly recommend picking that one up. Then we have the Broken Earth trilogy. I'm holding up the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. These books are immaculate. This is an apocalyptic sci-fi, because it does have some science fantasy book. I am so glad I just coined that term for myself. I apologize if anyone's already said it, but that's just so relevant, right? Because there are some books that are categorized as science fiction, but they're fantasy, they're fantasy. Then there are some books that are categorized as fantasy, but have so much science fiction within them. Sci-fi, sci-fantasy, sci-fi. All right. We follow 3 perspectives in this book. It's told in a really awesome narrative style, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. There's a reason why all 3 of them won the Hugo Award. Okay? I'll say that. Anyways, can I give a synopsis of this? I'll try my best. This book is about people who can draw energy from the earth around them and the consequences that it brings. That's all I'm going to say. I feel like that's pretty good, all right? Just read it. Read it for yourself. It's very apocalyptic, which horror movies, which fall. Season, fall. Duh. And lastly, we have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I personally really enjoyed this book. All right. It was pretty good. Again, short. And I'm pretty sure I read this physically, if I remember, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so different for me. But this was a pretty interesting book. The synopsis: we follow 3 different men as their past comes to haunt them. They all hunted a deer, I think it was a mother deer. I don't think it was a father deer with the horns. I could be wrong. But they killed it, and they did not perform proper burial or proper rites for this deer, and it comes back to fucking haunt them and wreck their lives. All right? Horror. So good. Really interesting. You should totally give it a read, all right? In my audiobook video, when I talked about NPR's article, they talked about this audiobook. It was a great audiobook, so highly recommend it. You should definitely check it out. This is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And now I just want to quickly, I'm not going to pop them out, give synopsis, touch on some books. Maybe we should catch up, before the next comes out. So ninth house. Hellbent is coming out January of next year. Read some Ninth House by Lee Bardugo if you want to catch yourself up for Hellbent. Locked Tomb Trilogy. Nona the Ninth just came out. Actually, it's not a trilogy anymore. It's a series. Nona the Ninth just came out. Read yourself some Gideon, some Harrow, and dive right into Nona. Have a blast, all right? And last but not least, if you have enough time, enough willpower, enough dedication, read the Mistborn series, Eras 1 and 2, before the Lost Metal arrives, is here in November. All right? If you don't have enough stamina, just do Era 2 and maybe the Secret History. I know I want to read the Secret History before November comes along for the Lost Metal, but yes. Anyways, without further ado, that is the end of my video. I hope you had a great day. I hope you enjoyed what we did here together. I know I did. I really wanted to try to pick some book recommendations that I don't see very often from very many people. All right, because I feel like sometimes these type of ideas are almost regurgitative. But I want it to be a little bit different in the books that I selected. So I hope I achieved that. And I hope you have have a marvelous day. All right? I will catch you on the flip side. Make sure to like, comment down below. What's your fall book recommendation? Subscribe to the channel. Hope you have a wonderful, marvelous, amazing day. Goodbye.